Hello and welcome to this Astranti bite-sized video. What you see in front of you is an extract from our F3 module on mergers and acquisitions. And specifically in this video, we're going to be talking about some of the reasons why an organization may want to acquire another organization. And this is not only going to help you in your F3 exam, but it's also just going to help build up your business knowledge, which is going to help you all across your CIMA studies. Now, if you want to see more materials like this, you can head on over to the Astranti website. We offer a full course of CIMA materials, including the one that you see on your screen right now. And without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to our subject expert.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why would an organization actually want to purchase another organization? Surely that's very, very risky. They must have a really good reason for doing it. And you'd be absolutely correct to think that. And that's what we're going to look at in this next section, is the reasons why companies acquire other companies. And I've got quite a substantial list to go through, but before we begin, I'd like you to take a moment, pause the video, think about what you know about acquisitions, perhaps from a general knowledge perspective or from what we've discussed already in this video, and have a think about the reasons why you think an organization would want to acquire others. And then come back, join me, and we'll go through this list together. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you've got a pretty decent list, and we're going to now look at my list, and hopefully it will expand on those that you have already identified and also provide you with some more. So let's take a look at some of these reasons for acquisition. And the first one is probably the most obvious one. It's probably the one that all of you thought of, and that is to increase revenue and increase market share. So absorbing a competitor means more market power. If there's a power tool manufacturer and it purchases another power tool manufacturer, it now has a larger share of the power tool market. That also makes them a more powerful company in terms of their own market power. So in terms of dealing with suppliers and dealing with buyers. When there was lots of smaller companies that were selling power tools, the buyers perhaps had more power. But now that there's one big, large power tool company, that company can dictate its own prices. And the same goes for dealing with suppliers. They now have more power over their suppliers. So it reduces the supplier power market forces affecting the organization. Another is economies of scale, being able to remove duplicate operations to reduce costs. So an example of this, again, could be a power tool manufacturer. And this power tool manufacturer has its own accounting department and it has its own human resources department, etc. And it purchases another power tool company, which also has its own human resources department and its own accounting department. Now, there's no need to have these two separate departments once the company comes together. There's no need to run two simultaneous human resources departments and two simultaneous accounting departments. You can merge them together and just have one human resources department that probably needs less costs, needs less staff than the two when they were running separately, and they can just deal with the human resources, deal with the accounting for the entire larger organization. Another example of reasons for acquisition is to access new markets. So perhaps purchase a company in a country that you want to enter, so that you've got a way into that country rather than trying to expand organically into it. And an example of this was a Chinese media company, Dalian Wanda. They acquired the US company ABC, and that provided them with access to the US market. And it would have been a lot harder for them to have naturally and organically just expanded into the US market. So it was a far quicker, more effective way of reaching that market by purchasing a company that was already big, was already present in that market. And another reason is to purchase products or brands. And this is useful because it gives them quick access to the company's products or the company's designs. And this is particularly useful when a lot of buyers are very loyal to a particular product. It's very difficult to try and get those buyers to move to your product. So what you might do is just buy the company that makes the product that they are loyal to. And particularly in tech companies and industries that rely a lot on intellectual property, can also provide them with access to patented products. An example of this was when HP bought another computer company for $25 billion. And that then gave them access to all the different products, all the different intellectual property that company had. And companies like Google also do this. Companies like Microsoft do this. They see that there's a smaller company that's got a really useful bit of intellectual property that they want to purchase and integrate it into the greater Microsoft group of companies, etc. So they purchase it. So then they now own that design. They own that intellectual property. Some more reasons now. On-selling. Now, on-selling is where you now can sell your existing products to the customers of the company you've just purchased. And also, you can take the products of the company you've just purchased and sell those products to your existing customers. So again, for example, using a power tool manufacturer, if you've got one particular power tool manufacturer A, and they've got a particular range of products that they sell to their customers, and they purchase power tool manufacturer B, and that gives them access to new customers and also new products. They can take power tool B's products and sell them to their existing customers. They can also take their own products and sell them to power tool company B's customers. Asset stripping is the next reason we are going to look at, and this is something that Hanson Trust used to do, the company that we used in the conglomerate example. And this essentially involves purchasing companies that are undervalued. They perhaps have lots of assets, but their finances aren't very good, so the companies are undervalued. So they purchase the company and they sell off all the various different assets. So an example of this could be a football team. A football team that's really struggling financially. It's making losses year after year after year. So the actual value of the company is quite small. So a company purchases that for a very low price, knowing that they've actually got some players that are worth quite a lot of money on the transfer market. So they purchase that company and then sell off all the players and make a profit. Control is another reason to help control the supply chain, and we actually discussed this in the previous section. So looking at vertical integration, we had the orange juice company that might purchase a grower of oranges to have more control over the supply chain. Now on to diversification, and this is all about reducing risk. So there's some overlap here between a financial strategy and a risk management strategy, but it's all to do with being less dependent on your existing market. So if anything happens to your existing market, your business is protected and the impact on your business is mitigated. And this is generally done through horizontal acquisition and integration. Not exclusively, but it's the least risky way of doing it, because if you conduct vertical acquisition integration or conglomerate acquisition integration, there's an added risk factor there because it's an industry, it's a business that you are not familiar with. So you have to tie that into how risky it actually is. If you purchase an organization industry that you have no experience in whatsoever, there is inherent risk involved there. So it's often done through horizontal acquisition because the company already has experience. And it's typically by purchasing a similar company in another country, so that you've got two different markets. An example of this is the Chinese company Zoomlion that purchased a US company. Now, Zoomlion was based in construction, and so was the US company. But by making this horizontal acquisition, they were now protected more. Because if something were to happen to the Chinese construction market, that would have a huge impact on the organization because they were solely dependent on the success and the growth of the Chinese construction market. But by purchasing an American construction company, they have split their risk. So if something happens to the Chinese market, they've got the US market that they can fall back on. So it's mitigating the impact. On to our final 3 reasons now, and we're going to start with tax relief. So this is where a loss-making company might be acquired to reduce tax liability. So company A has made profit, company B has made a loss. So company A acquires company B, and now it looks like the group of companies, the larger company formed by acquiring this other company, has made no profit. And now, because it's made no profit, it doesn't have to pay any tax. And this may sound quite shady, but it's actually perfectly legal as long as you treat them as a single tax group. So as long as both of those companies are treated together for tax purposes. Might also acquire a company to gain access to its staff. So let's say that there was a particular company, a smaller company in your industry, but they had some really, really high quality staff that had really good ideas, and you wanted those staff members to work for you. You wanted to bring them into your company. So you might acquire that organization to gain access to all those staff with their various different skills, their various different ideas, etc. And finally, big data opportunities. Big data, very important, and particularly in the modern environment where data and information is just so important. And where actually having access to information about consumers, etc., is worth its weight in gold. It's actually a very valuable and a very justifiable acquisition to purchase the company just to gain access of its information and gain access to all the customers that it has. An example of this is when Facebook purchased WhatsApp. Now, it cost them $19 billion to purchase WhatsApp, but through that purchase, Facebook suddenly had access to hundreds of millions of new users, data and information about hundreds of millions of new users. And as a company that essentially deals with information, deals with data, deals with information about individuals, that was almost priceless for a company like Facebook. So well worth the $19 billion investment.
And with that, we have come to the end of the video, unfortunately. Now, if you want to see the full course, you can visit the Astranti website where you can sign up for a free membership, which is going to give you access for 1 week to the full course and a mock exam. Now, we update this channel twice a week, so make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more CIMA content in a similar vein to this video. And now, in addition to that, you can find us on social media. Our links will be in the description below, as well as on screen. And you can also join our Facebook study group, where you can ask questions and discuss the course content with your fellow students. Now, we hope to see you in a future video. Thank you very much.